All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor to be here in North Philadelphia today. What you see amassed in front of you is what happens when you let good cops be cops, when you let interagency, state and local police work together to rid our cities of the harmful plague of drug trafficking organizations and gang violence. And there's an important distinction to be made. Yesterday I was in the White House with the President for the Homeland Security Task Force. And while that lift is being done at the international level to wipe out drug trafficking organizations and gang violence, our urban cities from Los Angeles to Philadelphia, New York, and everywhere in between are being plagued by localized street gangs and gang violence and drug trafficking organizations. Once the drugs and guns come in, they need an outfit to deliver them to our communities. And we needed to attack those outfits. And the reason I wanted to come to Philadelphia today is because this takedown, brought to you by the men and women standing behind me and their wonderful teams, the Philadelphia Police Department, the FBI, and the United States Attorney's Office, are bringing to bear what law enforcement can do when you unleash them and let them go after the criminals that are destroying our communities, that are harming our civilization, and that are hurting our children. This Weymouth Street Gang is not just one instance of removing a couple of people. It is an example of how you remove an entire organization that is corrupting not just the city of Philadelphia, but the state of Pennsylvania as well. And I felt it extremely important to come in here and say, not only are we removing guns and gang members and robbers and firearms, we are removing an entire coordinated section of gang violence permanently off the streets. And that's how you deliver a victory for the people of Philadelphia, the people of Pennsylvania, and the people of America. I'm so proud and humbled to be joined here today by these wonderful representatives from the police force, from the FBI, and a shout out to the Department of Justice and our United States Attorney Metcalf here. You need courageous prosecutors to bring these cases. You need people that aren't going to say no, that are going to bend the knee, that are going to say, it's too hard to bring this case, it's too difficult to collect the evidence. When you hear the details of this case, everyone in America should be looking at this takedown. This takedown is how you safeguard American cities from coast to coast. This takedown is an interagency process, years in the making. Extensive legal service and process was executed here, correctly done to make sure that the integrity of the investigation is upheld and the criminals are put into the legal system and brought before a judge and a jury, and they will have their rightful day in court. But the overarching importance of this case and this takedown is this is exactly how you safeguard American lives. You go after the organizations that are inflicting pain across America in each and every city. And this is my tenure as FBI director. This is one of the largest and most impressive gang takedowns that I have ever seen. So I felt it important to come here and just shake the hands of the brave men and women that did this work. I did not have much of a role in this operation. The FBI brought in an incredible amount of assets to include HRT and SWAT teams, tactical teams to hit houses at the same time. The level of coordination that goes into just the takedown is a small reflection of the level of coordination and planning that goes into making a case like this happen. We have permanently removed a drug trafficking organization out of the streets of Philadelphia, and they're going to stop pouring guns and chemicals and drugs into our communities, and our children are safer today. So I just want to thank the men and women of law enforcement, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and of course, the proud men and women of the FBI for leading the charge across this country. If anyone out there is watching in your streets, in your communities, this is how you stop gang violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. It's an honor to have you here today. My name is David Metcalf. I'm the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. I'm pleased to be joined by Special Agent in Charge Wayne Jacobs for the FBI, Special Agent in Charge Todd Hodnett with the DEA. We're also joined by the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office, Kirsten Hine, and Chief of Criminal Investigations John Kissinger. And of course, we're always pleased to have Commissioner Bethel here. It's an honor to have you here, sir, as well. Today we are announcing a historic indictment. This case involves 33 defendants. It's a massive drug trafficking conspiracy spanning nearly a decade, involving tremendous volumes of fentanyl and narcotics, and it takes place at the epicenter of the opioid crisis here in the Kensington neighborhood of Philadelphia. This indictment by defendant is the largest federal indictment this century brought by our district. And like a precision missile, it has been targeted for maximum impact where it needed to go. As I said, at the heart of the opioid scourge here in Kensington. As of this morning, 29 defendants are in custody, thanks to a successful operation by the FBI and our other law enforcement partners. Throughout the course of the coordinated takedown, as well as the investigation overall, we've been able to recover dozens of firearms off the street, including assault rifles, seize substantial volumes of fentanyl and narcotics at locations associated with the defendant. This case takes place at the crossroads of drugs and violence, and we are all here with a loud and unmistakable message that we are reclaiming these neighborhoods for the people who live and work here. We are taking back what the defendants are alleged to have stolen from the community, which is peace, prosperity, law, and order. As the director's presence here today indicates, this case is special. It's one of those few cases which, if successful, will eliminate an entire criminal outfit. It will clean and cleanse a whole neighborhood and will virtually eradicate a violent drug trafficking organization root and stem. To be clear, every defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty. An indictment is only an allegation. And this indictment alleges that the Weymouth Street drug trafficking organization, for nearly a decade, sold and distributed substantial volumes of fentanyl, crack cocaine, and heroin, mostly in the 3100 block of Weymouth Street. They made their living in one of the most notorious and prolific segments of an open-air drug market here in Kensington. They ran it like a business, but they also ran it, as the director alluded to, by violence, by fear, and by threats. They enforced their territory through the threats of assaults, shootings, and murder. They threatened anyone who talked to or cooperated with law enforcement. They were armed. The indictment further alleges that this DTO was led by Jose Antonio Morales Nieves, aka Flaco, a 45-year-old man from Puerto Rico, but a frequent flyer here in Philadelphia, who essentially owned the 3100 block of Weymouth Street and allowed other members of the DTO to sell drugs on the block in exchange for a payment of rent. He was joined by Roman Montañez, 40-year-old from Philadelphia, who essentially ran the day-to-day operations of the Weymouth Street DTO. He collected revenue, he organized the schedules of the workers, and orchestrated a pretty sophisticated business enterprise that peddled in poison. He also was responsible for procuring the drug supply for the organization. And on that score, I'll note that the indictment alleges that this organization did not care how dangerous the drugs were that they peddled to customers. Mr. Montañez wanted it as strong and as powerful as possible. In fact, the indictment alleges that at one point, one DTO member acknowledged the deadly nature of the drugs they were selling, and yet the DTO continued to sell it day by day, month after month, for nearly a decade. Fortunately, both of these men and most of their compatriots are now in the custody of the FBI, awaiting federal prosecution. I encourage all of you to read the indictment. It is now unsealed, and I couldn't possibly encapsulate and summarize all of the offense conduct in just a press conference, but it is truly staggering. As I mentioned, this case is special. I, as the U.S. Attorney, obviously represent the office and I lead it, but as a career prosecutor, I'd be remiss if I didn't give true credit where it belongs, which is to the line prosecutors and agents who built the case. And you only build a case like this with skill and ferocity, and day by day working it up to build a case that truly makes a difference. A case that is a long-term, comprehensive annihilation of a criminal organization. Those don't come around a lot. And I'll also say this couldn't be done without Commissioner Bethel and the Philadelphia Police Department. When you have a case like this and you have a significant federal indictment, I sometimes think there's this misconception that is a purely federal case. And that's just not true. You can't build a case like this, of this magnitude and scale, without the support of the Philadelphia Police Department. You can't do it without the resources they provide, and more importantly, the intelligence. And on that score, while I have everyone here, I'd like to talk about this case, but also talk more globally and strategically about what we're doing in this city to combat gun violence and drug trafficking. Because it's more than this case. This case is just an illustration, an example of that work. And what we're doing is the Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney's Office, FBI, DEA, HSI, ATF, and the Philadelphia Police Department have established an initiative, a violent crime initiative called PSN Recon. This is the violent crime initiative of the federal and state and law enforcement community to attack violence in this city going forward. PSN Recon is named after Project Safe Neighborhood, which is the department's existing program combating gun violence. It is ultimately a criminal intelligence program. It's a way for all of us to consolidate and collect the intelligence from the entire law enforcement community and identify, target, and investigate the worst violent actors in this city. Because cases like this don't get formulated based on the word of one confidential informant or one ballistics match. You only put together cases like this, you only stop the violence by targeting the worst actors based on the best intelligence. And the best intelligence doesn't live in one place, it lives everywhere. And so Commissioner Bethel, myself, and our federal agency partners are now meeting every month to diagnose block by block, district by district, gang by gang, who is driving the violence in this city. You'll hear more details about PSN Recon in future dates, but this case is a good illustration of what this program is about. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Special Agent in Charge, Wayne Jacobs, for the FBI to talk.
Thank you, sir. I want to start by thanking our director, Mr. Patel, for being here. His support of this investigation of our field office means everything to the folks who put this work together. So thank you, sir, for being here. For too long, the Weymouth Street drug trafficking organization flooded the streets of Kensington with drugs and terrorized residents with horrific acts of violence and intimidation. That ended today. Earlier this morning, the FBI, working with our state, local, and federal partners, executed arrest warrants for 22 at-large defendants. 8 additional defendants who are currently in local custody will be transferred into federal custody next week. Also executed this morning were 11 search warrants. The results of those search warrants are still pending. This morning's operation involved hundreds of law enforcement personnel, 9 tactical teams, and extended beyond Philadelphia with arrests in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Wilmington, Delaware, and Millville, New Jersey. But the vast majority of our actions were concentrated right here in Kensington, where this organization devastated the community, fueled violence, and spread fear among residents for nearly a decade. Today's arrests are a culmination of a multi-year investigation, a testament to the persistence, coordination, and dedication of the women and men who refuse to let this organization continue to harm this city. Our message is clear. The FBI and our partners will not tolerate those who endanger our neighborhoods through drugs and violence. While our work today is done, our commitment to this city is not. We will remain here standing with the people of Kensington, protecting those who seek peace and stability in their neighborhood. As the United States Attorney just emphasized, today's action advances the goals of Project Safe Neighborhoods, and specifically PSN Recon, a focused initiative that identifies the most violent and dangerous individuals in our communities and holds them accountable. The FBI proudly amplifies that message. We stand with this community. Our job doesn't end with these arrests. It includes building trust, listening, and working together to create lasting safety. In the coming days, residents will see FBI public safety ads on social media platforms with information on how to safely and securely share tips about drug trafficking and violent crime in your communities. If you know something that can help make your block safer, we want to hear from you. Every piece of information, no matter how small, can make a difference. Finally, I want to thank our partners. Partnership sits at the foundation of everything the FBI does. None of this would have been possible without the commitment and professionalism of every agency, department, and office represented here today. Philadelphia has made tremendous progress in the fight against violent crime, and that work continues. Together, with our partners and with the people of Kensington, we will keep building on that momentum to make our city safer and stronger. Thank you. And I'll turn it over to Commissioner Bethel.
Thank you for that, Wayne. I appreciate those words, and just wanted to recognize the team here today. You know, as I live around the group here, Director Patel, I appreciate the support, and I share with you behind the scenes my appreciation for my colleague and law enforcement colleagues and U.S. Attorney here as well, colleagues from the state. I mean, this is the work. You know, I constantly tell people, you know, we are having significant success across the city this year, and it's not just about, you know, the Philadelphia Police Department. It's those relationships that we've had for quite some time, and we continue to use those relationships to move forward. It was just not too long ago after Kata Scott's, we found her murderer. It was the FBI that I would turn to help us in that investigation, and talking to Wayne throughout that. So we're constantly behind the scenes working together, and I'm just so appreciative of that. I do want to recognize Commissioner Kelly, who oversees our narcotics team, and our narcotics officers here today, and the Bureau for their hard work and their engagement. You know, 2 years ago when I joined back to the police department after being here 30 years, the mayor talked about One Philly in action. And this is exactly the model that the mayor at the time talked about. She charged us at that time, you know, to not just turn into turf battles and not to be in silos in our work, and that the agencies working together, we can have an impact on impacting the lives of the people that we serve. And those comments are echoed here today. Today is a culmination of a deliberate, patient, and highly coordinated investigation into a violent criminal enterprise operating in and around Weymouth Street in Kensington. You see the captain behind me nodding. He's like, man, thank you, because we have known for a long time the conditions and what Weymouth has done to the community they serve, and the poison that they put out on the street on a regular basis. So, Captain, I think I know you have a lot of pride today, know that you're supported in this work, and just continue the good work that you do as you move forward. This group pumped fentanyl into our community, already hurting. They use violence, as was indicated, shootings, robberies, home invasions, homicides, to protect their business. And unfortunately, that ends today. I won't recap their jurisdictions and the arrests that were made, but we know that they will all be brought into federal court. I remind you again, these are federal offenses. They're going into federal court to be handled by someone I know who's going to take the appropriate action to address this behavior. This is what it looks like when the threat around drug trafficking associated with violence is not isolated in the street, but as an organized threat to the public safety. And we will apply the full weight of the government in that response. And I want to be clear on a point that has been made since the mayor took office. The people of Kensington, slow it down there, the people of Kensington deserve safety, dignity, and peace, as any other neighborhood does. And we've constantly talked about, you know, Mr. Rosario and the team have done a great job of dealing with, you know, the individuals, you know, unfortunately are sheltered, and those individuals who are now having fentanyl mixed with, you know, xylazine and now medetomidine and other products that are just destroying them. And it wasn't just about them, it was going after the drug dealers in these communities who are putting this poison out on the street. You know, so we're going to treat these blocks are like open air territories. We're going to stop that, and this is what part of that. The poison they put out, you know, is just terrorizing our community and killing our community. And so I'm grateful for the work that has been done. But we're not going to apologize for removing them. Let's make sure we're clear. We're not going to be apologizing for removing individuals who do this type of behavior. And until those people belong, until we get this street back to where the folks deserve, we're going to continue to attack them. So I just want to thank the men and women of this police department. I want to thank all of the individuals here who are supporting us. We're not going to stop, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the mayor said prevention, intervention, and enforcement. And we're using all of those components. But we will not return this neighborhood to what it should be and what it deserves if we don't do this level of enforcement going at it from all areas. And so I am just appreciative of the team here today. And I will say to anyone out there, we're not done. You know, we've now shown the template that we can put together to be able to attack these areas, and we're going to continue to attack those areas as we move forward. And so I'll stop there, and I'll kick it back over to my colleague, because I'm sure there's going to be some questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Bethel. So, as Commissioner Bethel stated, this is the start of a reckoning for criminals in this city who think that narcotics are a source of power and money rather than a road to federal prison. And for the criminals that remain out there in the city, for the drug dealers that remain out in the city, you will see our faces again. The next indictment has a space with your name on it. Director Patel, I hope you plan to make more trips to Philadelphia, because as the commissioner said, we are just getting started here. On the subject of Kensington, I'll say, as the commissioner noted, its residents deserve safety. And on the subject of prevention or intervention or enforcement, I think we've shown today what we're going to do from an enforcement perspective. I frequently get asked, what are you going to do about Kensington? And today shows what we're going to do. We're going to eliminate and eradicate entire drug trafficking networks. We're going to clean out whole neighborhoods. And we're going to return these neighborhoods to its residents. The blocks belong to the residents, not the drug dealers, and we are just getting started. I'm happy to take a few questions about this case and PSN Recon. Yes?
Could you clarify a little bit about the pictures we're seeing here? Are
Sure.
those from videos? What can you tell us?
Yeah, so the picture on the left represents 3100 Weymouth Street. This is the center of the drug trafficking activity, and those are the customers lining up to purchase narcotics from this drug trafficking organization. And the other pictures represent various members of the DTO flaunting and broadcasting what they use as the instruments to control their territory and effectuate their organization, which is firearms and violence. Yes, sir.
A couple that may be covered in the indictment. I apologize for not having read all 170 pages.
You didn't read them?
I tried. I couldn't read it fast enough. First, just when did this investigation start? I know it was said multi-year, but can you...
The allegations date back to 2016. The investigation was going on for several years.
And then, is there an estimate on how much, in terms of quantity or dollar amount of drugs this group sold over the course of that?
So we're still tabulating drug quantities based on the seizures today. I would point you to the indictment, which alleges over 400 grams of fentanyl. That's the mandatory minimum quantity. But I would venture to say that the evidence will establish quantities far in excess of that into the realm of kilograms.
And then I know you mentioned violence and threats of violence. I didn't see charges for anyone and specifically with acts of violence, but can you share any details as to what that component of this investigation looked like?
Sure, it's a good question. So there, at the moment, no substantive allegations of murder or shootings. I will say the investigation is still ongoing. But as you can see from the visual aids, and as well as the evidence developed during the course of the investigation, there was significant evidence of violence and threats. But I will just revert back to my statement that we're still investigating and further charges could be coming.
And then one more quick one. That there's 33 people indicted here, and I know there are allegations that some people would rent out corners and blocks. I mean, where did these folks, how did they get involved in the group? Did they live in Kensington? Did they live all over the city? How did that work?
That's a complicated question, and it's going to vary by the defendant. Not everyone lives on that particular block. You can think of it as a business location. Yes, sir.
To bounce off of that, you said there were also arrests in Wilmington, Delaware, and in South Jersey. Do we believe that there was activity as well in those communities beyond Weymouth Street?
Did I say that? You said that. You might want to ask Special Agent in Charge Jacobs that question. Do you mind answering that?
Yeah, I mean, as the U.S. Attorney mentioned, not everyone lived on the block. Folks reside in other locales. Delaware, Jersey were just two of them.
Besides them living there, do we believe that this activity was also happening in those communities?
I don't think that's referenced in the indictment. I think it was just an address where they were arrested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you referenced two people that sounded like they were the leaders. I know it's in the indictment, but just your description of how they operated. Was it like there were two bosses and there were lieutenants and there were soldiers? How would you describe it being structured?
Yes, I mean, I think it's structured characteristic of many of these street-level drug trafficking organizations with owners and operators, and then lower-level managers, and then people who handle the day-to-day sales. As I mentioned, and you'll see in the indictment, they had a pretty sophisticated sort of business enterprise here, organizing shifts, who's going to work here when. But yeah, that would be managed by a vertically integrated leadership structure that you would see endemic to most drug trafficking organizations.
And some people might ask, wow, that's a long time to know about this, operation on their end, operating here. What was the change? What made it so that you said that, hey, we're going to have an operation now, we're going to focus on this? Or is this something that's just been ongoing? I guess what was the catalyst to come to today?
It's always a balance between, so are you asking what was the genesis of the investigation?
I guess I'm asking why now, if you've known about it since 2016.
We have to build a case, right? And that takes time. As I mentioned, it takes a very diligent amount of effort by both the prosecutors and the agents to accumulate the evidence to put together a case like this. And our goal strategically is to eliminate the organization by putting together the best charges that we can, and that takes time. These are the type of cases we want to do. We could obviously just prosecute individual seizures of guns and drugs, but the organizational prosecutions, in my experience as a career prosecutor, that's what's going to make the difference in the community. This neighborhood will be a lot safer than it would be if we didn't take our time to do that. Yes?
I'm sorry. Did you think you dismantled the whole operation?
Yes.
You keep referring to them as the Wayman Street Drug Trafficking Organization. Is that the name of their gang?
Yes.
Okay. Just clarify.
One more.
Can we just go through the numbers again? I just want to make sure I have it right. 33 defendants total. 29 were arrested this morning.
29 are in custody.
In custody. There were 22 arrested this morning, and eight others were transferred to federal custody.
That'll be coming next week.
Coming next week.
Yeah.
How many firearms
They-
were taken?
I said one more. Are you sneaking one in? Go ahead.
How many firearms were taken off the street today?
I don't have the exact tally on that. As I said, they're still accumulating the evidence. So thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.